and I would like to, first of all, thank you guys for coming and just introduce myself. I think I said it in the invitation as well and on the Facebook page, but my name is Genevieve, and I am a homeschooler here in Tacoma, and I've actually been involved in homeschooling for almost, at least 15 years now, and I just recently started homeschooling myself, which was always kind of odd because I didn't have kids before. So I was a public school teacher, and I decided that I was not happy with um, way public education, uh, my experiences in public education. So I decided to start my own business, and I was able to start a piano studio. But I also had a lot of homeschooling friends who asked if I would help them with their homeschooling. And so as a result, I was able to continue teaching academic classes in people's homes, later in my home. And then about 7 years ago, I started a group here in Tacoma, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later. And our group is affiliated with a philosophy called leadership education. And as a result, our group has grown, and we've split twice. And we have a sister school out in Puyallup, and we have another one out in Port Orchard, and then a small group that started up in Renton, and another small group that's out in Eatonville. And a couple of those leaders of those groups will be here today to tell you about what they have going on and what's working for them. And I was able, through that time period, to take lots of classes, do lots and lots of trainings, and really immerse myself in um, the world of homeschooling. I have a lot of connections around the country, a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak, and I have been watching with curiosity and intensity to what has been happening this last year when it comes to homeschooling, and have really felt that a strong push, a strong call to try and help. And so that's what I am here to do today. So hopefully I can give you guys some insight and just let you know that there are people out there that are, that are groups that are in the trenches, that have been doing it for a long time, that are, um, we want you guys to be part of our groups. We want you to be part of our community. We know this is not ideal. This is not what homeschooling in general looks like. Um, when we have the opportunity, we get together as much as we possibly can. In fact, it makes it so much easier to be able to homeschool as a group, as a community. So that's super important. Um, and we want you to know that when you feel safe, and when it's more ideal to do so, the groups will be there, and we want you to be part of it. So I'd like to quickly um, get to know each of you, if you don't mind. So I don't see, let's see, I'm just going to say the name that I see on your picture. So Langers, would you turn on your camera, your microphone, and tell us a little bit about you guys, your homeschool journey so far? Your name.
Yeah, hello. Um, I husband and wife team. We have two boys, a 9-year-old who I pulled out of public school, and then he'll be 6 tomorrow, who's never been. He had a little bit of the virtual learning the beginning of this year, but he's never had any school. So we I've been wanting to homeschool for a very long time, and like my long-term goal is to like live on an island in a bus and like grow my squash and stuff like that. So this is step one, but uh just everything that's happening was kind of the perfect situation to start. So
Tell me your name.
Amber.
Amber. Awesome. And Amber, are you in Tacoma then?
We are in Spanaway with the Tacoma address, but we're right next to Spanaway Lake High School, actually.
Awesome. I'm gonna change your name so I won't forget here. Okay. So, Amber, you bring up a really important point, I guess, about about homeschooling right now and the choice that people have made, and a lot of it is because of the what's happening with the public schools and the virtual learning, and it not being sufficient, but it also has been a huge catalyst for people like you who have wanted to do it, and now you're seeing this is your opportunity. So
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you've been able to take that. So make sure as we're going through that you are letting me know any questions that you have, any clarification you need. Everybody kind of sits quietly when I do these and takes it all in, but I would love to hear what, and if I can't answer it, I will get you an answer. So, all right, Jessica, we're going to hear from you in a few minutes, but would you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jessica, and we've been, I've got three boys, 8, 5, and 2, and we've been homeschooling from the beginning. So my oldest is second grade. And so, um, yeah, I always wanted to homeschool because I don't know, I was a weird kid in school, I guess, anyway. Um, and yeah, and I run the Wild and Free South Sound Explorers nature meetup group in, we kind of meet in Puyallup, Tacoma area. And usually I can talk more about this
Yeah.
later. So, all right, that's it.
Awesome. Awesome. And you said you were in Tacoma?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Um, let's see. Isabel, would you? It's super awesome to meet you, Jessica.
Yeah, you too.
Isabel,
Thanks
would
for
you
doing this.
introduce yourself? Oh, I don't know if she heard me. Isabel, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Isabel. Um, I have 6 children. The oldest is 12, the youngest is 3, and we've been homeschooling now, I don't know how long, 80, hold on, 8 years, 8 years. Um, Sorry, I'm driving, so I'm trying to think here. I live in Puyallup. I am the founder of one of the schools that broke away from Genevieve's group in Tacoma. We were with her group in Tacoma for quite a while. I always tell people that I remember distinctly a conversation that I had with my husband when we just had our one daughter and she was a baby, that I was never going to homeschool because that is weird and homeschoolers are weird. And why would you ever do that? Because it's the craziest thing ever. And so my journey, I've just slowly had a change of heart, little bit at a time. And now I've been homeschooling my kids. None of them have ever been to public school before. And it's honestly, it's changed our whole entire journey for my family. Our family is on a completely different road than what we ever would have been on if we were part of the public school system. And I love homeschooling. I'm passionate about it, and I consider myself more of an unschooler. So we don't have a lot of rigorous academics. And now my 2 sisters and my 1 brother also homeschool now. So it's kind of turned into a family thing. So we love it.
Awesome.
I don't know what else you want to know, Jenny.
Oh, that's great. Isabel's going to
Okay.
tell us a little bit more later about her group. She's out in Puyallup, and one thing that she said that is gonna I'm gonna expound on a little bit later is that she is an unschooler, so that's her application of homeschooling. But she's also has a very strong philosophy of homeschooling, which is based on a book called the Leadership Education. So I'll share a little bit more with you about that as well. So it is possible, and you'll find that people are, have different approaches and and the approach can be informed by a philosophy that you have. And I just really think that it's important when you homeschool that you have one of those in place, guiding and directing forces for you. Let's see, Andy and Amy, is that,
Hi.
if you have a camera you could turn on? I don't know if you do.
Did that turn on?
Nope, that's fine. You could go ahead and talk. We'll imagine what you look
You'll
like.
see my awful morning hair.
Oh, there you are. Awesome.
So I was homeschooled and I absolutely loved it. I was homeschooled from first grade all the way through, and then I did Running Start. And Amber, I have to say, I love your funky glasses. My mom had a pair similar to those. Absolutely love them. So with my kids, my son, he's sitting right next to me, and then my daughter. Kelton currently goes to WAVA, which is, I'm sure you know what WAVA is. And he's a really smart kid, but he's being drowned in 7 hours of homework a day. And I never went through that. And I loved the freedom of homeschooling. I'd get all my work done in a couple hours in the morning. And then we did super awesome stuff with my co-op. So I'm thinking, because I thought, oh, this is easy. I'll just have the school system. I can direct it. It doesn't work that way. It's basically the rigors of everything in school, in your home, and you're the person having to force them to do it. And that's not exactly very fun. So was that what you wanted to know?
Yeah. So are you gonna you're gonna pull him out completely, or what is your plan for that?
My plan is so I'm kind of crazy, not really crazy. He started because I got a lot of bad feedback from external family, like saying you cannot homeschool, you cannot do this. So he started his first year in kindergarten. He was in public school in the Waller district. I live in Phillip. And then after that, I pulled him out halfway through because he was doing pretty good, but he would come home with more than half of his lessons not done. And so he is physically really, really good, but handwriting was really, really difficult. So when he first went in, the teacher gave me a really, really hard time, saying I was basically a terrible parent and that he couldn't write. And I was like, well, since he's like a little kid, he's finger painted, he's done all this, like he's done handwriting, he had no desire, I didn't force him. So after half a year of that, pulled him out and then started WAVA, and it worked out okay, but it definitely has gotten way more intense. And then with Juniper, she's 4, so she's starting next year. I don't even want to put her in a school system. I just am going to keep her out because I've done just fine. And my biggest questions are curriculum and the route to go, because I had Zaxxon math and hooked on phonics when I was a kid. So curriculum is my biggest thing. And then getting groups, well, obviously we can't meet right now anyways, but getting groups to where, like what I had, we'd go out and we would go to a horse ranch, we'd go do science walks, we'd go into the dump and the sewer and not sewer, the septic system, waste management, that's where we went. And we've been everywhere, Space Museum, all this stuff, which was awesome. And my mom, it was a cool group. And we got some of the best tours ever because we were only around 12 kids and they would take us into back rooms. And it was not that we necessarily could do that today, but that's kind of what I'm looking for is curriculum and how to find a good group and the support of, I guess that's it. I don't know. I'm talking on my head.
Awesome. Well, I want to assure you that all the experiences that you talked about, the experiences of family with bad feedback, the experiences of teachers telling you one thing about your children and you knowing something else about your kids, and your experience even with having great experiences with field trips and all that stuff is very, very typical. And so you're not alone in the experiences that you've had. And just in case I don't mention it later, the world has changed dramatically in the last probably 10 years when it comes to homeschooling and the opportunities that are available to homeschoolers. So everything that you could do in public school, you can do field trip wise or experientially. Um, every organization has figured out that homeschooling is here to stay, and so it's offered for homeschoolers as well. You find most museums will have like homeschooling days, and that you get the same discounts, you get the same attention. Everybody is catering to homeschoolers, and so the opportunities to have field trips are totally there. Um, and I'm gonna tell you some things about curriculum, but I'm not going to tell you everything about curriculum. But I'm going to give you some things to think about and some direction to go in. And then if you wanted to talk more individually or just get hooked up with some people I know that could help you, curriculum is this huge issue and worry because we'll get there. Let's see,
Yeah,
Tanya.
my biggest concern is I want to make sure that he, like, I shouldn't really say this. I was a horrible homeschooling student. I did get all my work done, but I'd return in the same assignment to my mom sometime, like 3 days in a row, and she didn't really notice it because she had other stuff going on. But every year I would go do independent testing. I would normally test up a grade on everything I did. So she never had any worries or like had to worry about me besides my dyslexia. But so I'm not necessarily, I don't think 5 hours, 6 hours a day of work is that great. I don't think that you need that much because I definitely never did that much. And I don't know if the requirements to this day are just so much more rigorous. I feel like if he continues this, he's going to be burned out in 2 more years and hate school with a passion and fail. So that, I guess, is my biggest concern, is how to organize your school year in a way that is you're getting the basics of what they need, but you can build on what you want. And yeah, I'll mute myself now before I keep talking.
Awesome. Let's see. I don't know that Sharon has been able to get her sound working. So if you can hear me, Sharon, you could turn your microphone on, and if not, I'll let you definitely get you the recording. Let's see. Tanya, would you like to introduce yourself? She's still here. Okay. Well, we'll see if she comes back later. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just start with this some a PowerPoint here that I have.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry.
Sorry, first time I've done Zoom. Hi, I'm Tanya, and this is Corinne.
Hi.
We're from South Africa. So very nice to find you on here. I have homeschooled my children. All my 3 sons were ADHD with learning difficulties. And I also very much went unschooling as well, not following too many different curriculums, picking and pasting from here and there, because when they're ADHD, they don't focus. And I found that the best way is to find something that they really hyper-focused on. So one son was interested in sharks, and the reading, the maths, going to the beach, learning about plants, everything was basically surrounded around their interests. I'm mainly here to try and introduce Corinne to homeschooling. She wants to consider it, and I feel that it's good for her to actually hear from other people that besides myself as to what we did.
Awesome.
Hi, I've got 2 girls. Sasha is 9 and Jordan is 6. When Jordan was in the previous school, we had problems with the teachers, that she had a total, like, a mental lockdown. So she didn't want to do work, she didn't want to do homework, she didn't want to do the online schooling at all that the school was actually offering. So when I spoke to Tanya, she managed to get through that block, and that's why I thought, okay, maybe homeschooling is a better idea for Jordan, as well as Sasha, because now I find that she's actually enjoying it a lot more, as opposed to being in the classroom and being belittled, to a point that she doesn't want to do work.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm actually looking at that route of homeschooling rather, so the girls are a lot happier.
Perfect. Awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and let Jessica tell us some things about her Wild and Free group, and if you want to a little bit about Charlotte Mason. I know you have to go soon, so we'll go ahead and let you say some things first.
Okay. Um, yeah, so 3 years ago, I started the Wild and Free group, and really it's much more casual than being an official. It's not a co-op. It's not, you don't have to pay for anything. It's really just a play group. We meet, lately we've been meeting every Wednesday morning. Oh, thank you. Every Wednesday morning at random parks. We go to Wildwood and Puyallup a lot. We'll go to Point Defiance or Tacoma Nature Center or wherever. But really, it's just a way to, low key meet other homeschool families, meet other moms, have the kids all play outdoors, splashing around in puddles. So I really like the idea of nature schools or, forest schools. I like the idea of paying money to do it. And so, so then it started off really small. Oftentimes it was just me and my kids, and, people would say they'll come, but they don't. But now, over time, we've also split off into other groups. There's an Olympia group. There's a group out in Eatonville. There's one in Maple Valley. There's one in Gig Harbor. And we had to be on hiatus officially because of everything. Hopefully we'll be starting up again next week, whenever the restrictions lift, or we can have more than 5 people, out in public. But I'm happy. We're still kind of getting out and about. So if anyone wants to message to get together, if we still are on hiatus through January, we've been doing kind of one-on-one play dates at parks and everything throughout all this. So yeah, so that's an easy way to get involved in, if you just want to meet other homeschool families and talk about curricula, talk about, what are the resources out there. I feel like everything's more word of mouth. It's hard to find, especially right now, it's hard to find what's actually open and available. So yeah, is that everything?
What is the so the idea behind wild and free groups is more like nature schooling?
Yeah, so the idea is just getting out in nature. I really value, I want my kids to have, firsthand experiences with the outdoors. And we don't do any kind of curricula or like standing up and teaching about mushrooms or what have you, but they see squirrels and crows, and oh, this is this kind of tree, and that's that kind of, oh look, there's this mushroom and it's different than that mushroom. And they pick up so much just by having firsthand experiences outdoors. So I really value that, and I think having that unstructured, not child-led play of within reason, whether or not beating each other up, but they really don't, surprisingly, with all these boys. They get sticks and, oh, we're gonna make this campfire, we're gonna have this base or that base, and I just think their creativity and the things that they come up with and those games are so much more valuable than me trying to get up and say, now we're gonna play Simon Says. So yeah, that's kind of the philosophy. You're talking about homeschool philosophy behind it. And Charlotte Mason is kind of the educator, kind of education philosophy that's more formalized. If you Google Charlotte Mason, she was all about nature study and the power of observation and really having attention and observing the natural world as a precursor to any kind of formal science education. Is you have to even care about these things before you're going to want to learn more about them.
Awesome. Awesome. So how would people contact you to find out more about the meetups that you guys are doing?
Okay, so we're on Facebook. We're on Wild and Free, South Sound Explorers. We're on MeWe, which is like Facebook alternative. We're on and we're on bewildandfree.org is the national group. And that's where if you go in, it's free to join a membership. I've never paid for any subscriptions. That's where they have the map of all the groups around here, so you can kind of see what looks closest to you. And really the last thing I would say is if there's nothing close to you or nothing that fits your, maybe they're not open, they're not meeting right now, or they're not in your area or whatever. It takes nothing to start a group for you. If there's nothing out there that's meeting your needs and your family, if you can get one other family together and to do art together, to go on nature walks together, that's really how it starts. And there's so much interest out there. If you just start something, it doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be an official co-op with a name and a logo. So
That's great advice. Thank you. Beth, would you introduce yourself real quick? Thank you, Jessica.
thank you for doing
Hey.
this.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Beth Cousin. I have been home 8 years, I think now. My oldest is in 6th grade. I have a 4th grader, a kindergartner, and a 3-year-old. I got into homeschooling because of Genevieve, and I started homeschooling with so my son was in preschool, and we joined the co-op that Genevieve was leading at the time. It's Families Inspiring Leadership Academy, otherwise known as FELA. And now I am the vice president of that organization. And we have still been meeting virtually throughout this crazy year. We meet every Thursday, whether we're in person or virtual. Thursdays are our day. And we have awesome classes for our kids right now, virtually, we only have classes for 8 and up. But I also do a weekly story time for our younger kids, which is fun. That's my fun time that I love to read aloud to little ones. We follow the leadership education.
So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment.
Okay. Yeah, I figured you would. I'm not awesome at talking about the philosophy, but Genevieve is a master of it, so I will let her do that. But yeah, so at home we loosely follow that philosophy at my house. We are very more eclectic homeschoolers, I would say. We do a lot of we do some game schooling. We do lots and lots of read alouds. I'm a math teacher by profession, so we do a lot of mathy discussions and activities. And we just I let my kids do what interests them and figure out things. So anyway, is there anything else, Genevieve?
No, I'll come back to you a little bit later.
Okay.
We'll talk more about FELA.
Okay.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Okay. Welcome, Luis. And I think Sharon might have got her sound working. All right, we're gonna move on, I want to make sure I have enough time to tell you all the things I wanted to tell you. But I really like this word paradigm, and I think it's super. I think paradigm shifts are awesome. So paradigm shift in education is hopefully what a lot of you have had this year, as we've gone through things with COVID and such. So paradigm is the way you see something. It's your point of view, your frame of reference, or your belief system. So for just a second, and if you have something to write with, you can do it, or if you just want to think about it. I want you to brainstorm with yourself the paradigms about education that you or we as a society hold dear. So just think about that for like 30 seconds. If you write anything down, that would be awesome. But what are those? What are those ways we see education, or the beliefs about education that we hold super dear, that we don't want to let go of? Won't take too long on this. Let's see. I'm gonna share now. All right. I'm gonna pick on Amber. Amber, what's something that you wrote down or were thinking of as a paradigm of education?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna show you some, and I want you guys to give me a thumbs up if you've thought of any of these things before or you've heard them.
I have one, Jenny. Oh, never mind. You got a list.
What do you got? Give me one, Isabel.
I was going to say the one that's right there on the screen, that you have to be a professional in order to teach. We definitely believe that in society. Also that, dang it, just, oh, that students have to be proficient in certain topics that are pre-decided for you.
There's a there you know the biggest question probably that has come up is what if my student gets behind? How can I ensure that they're going to stay at grade level? What's going to happen? The worry that they're going to have holes or be behind. Sorry. So students must be proficient at, and then fill in the blank, right? So that choice is not necessary. That if we're given choice, it makes inequalities in the world, which I think is very interesting. We've heard that a lot. Everybody has to have the exact same access to education, and if we give choice, it makes it unequal. But there's only one way to educate. If you homeschool, what's going to happen is you're going to screw your kids up. You're going to ruin their lives. They're never going to get into college. They won't amount to anything. They're not going to get a job. They're going to turn into weirdos. And you're just, it's going to be the end all of everything. A big, huge paradigm that people have is that everyone should go to college, no matter what, that's the only route that we have in life, right? And this idea that schooling happens at certain times. I would say, in my own opinion, I would say that's one of the biggest bad things. I can't think of the word for it, but the bad thing that public school has done to us is made children believe that schooling happens between 9 and 3, and not before and not after. And please don't ask me to do anything educational once 3 o'clock is hit.
Or that learning only happens when you're sitting at a desk with paperwork in front of you. That is the only way learning works. I hate that one.
Right, because that's the biggest enemy to an unschooler, right? And it's what. And if you think that, Isabel and Beth have been homeschooling a long time, and if you think that they're going around saying, yes, we've got it all figured out, and that things are going great now because they've been doing it so long, it's not the case, right? You've chosen the route of the most anxiety. Sorry, ladies. you're always worried that you're always going to be worried that you're not doing it right. But for me, the beautiful thing is that it's up to me. So I always have the opportunity to revamp and readdress. And I sit down with my husband all the time. We talk about it, and we start. We fix things, and we decide, okay, we need to focus here a little bit more now. Oh, we need to focus here a little bit more. And it's a challenge that we are happy to undertake. And I'm not saying, we're not great at it. Like I swear I taught that girl to tell time, and then she was standing in front of the clock the other night going like an hour and a half off, and we're like, come on. But it's okay. She's just gonna keep working at it, right? Okay. Did anyone have any other paradigms that came to mind as we were talking?
Am I talking?
Yep.
Okay. Somehow I became my whole screen. I don't know what I did. I would say the biggest thing is from being homeschooled is that, I mean, if anyone ever finds out I've been homeschooled, I automatically get, you're so weird. That explains who you are. But I would say for myself that I definitely appreciate growing up homeschooled. I was able to be more comfortable with myself than having constantly all these people judging me and having hardships. It maybe made me a little more awkward, and I'm probably a little more outspoken than I probably normally would have been if I'd been in school, because I would have been shamed to be quiet. But I'm never scared to speak up and talk and say what I want to say, because I know in the end of the day, I'm going home with myself. And so as long as I'm happy with what I've done and I'm proud of what I've done, that's the only person that really matters is me and my family, because they're the ones that actually invest in me. So you don't have to worry about all this social craziness. So that's one thing I think is kind of a weird thing, is that just because your kid's homeschooled, they're not going to be socially acceptable.
Right.
Socialize with your family.
That argument about socialization is the most played argument possible. If somebody wants to say that to you, that they won't be socialized, you can just be like, please talk to my hand. I mean, it's not even one to address, because children who are homeschooled have shown that they have just what you're talking about. Just this, my daughter is 10, and people tell her to her face, not to me, but they tell her all the time. Adults tell her all the time how impressed they are with how conversational she is, and how they could just talk to her, and she has no problems starting conversations with adults, and enjoying their company and sharing things, and just coming across as this really well-spoken, well-adjusted little girl. And she gets that all the time, and
that's what I got. All three, me and my two sisters, we were called the Gilbert girls, because whenever there was an event or anything happening at any place, we would go in, we would organize it, help it, set up, do whatever it was. We could talk to the adults, become organizers, even if we weren't a part of it. It was just one of those skills that we were given with homeschooling and the responsibilities we were given. Right. And my parents never had to worry.
Awesome. So paradigm shifts need to start with you as the homeschooler. And when you're asking about things like, again, I'm going to go back to the idea of like, what curriculum should I use, and what direction I need to go in. It needs to start with you and your paradigm shift and your belief system about homeschooling, and all of that will inform the decisions you're going to make about curriculum and how you're going to address teaching your children. And there are just tons and tons of resources out there, but you need to know what is your philosophy and what is going to be your approach. So, in my opinion, your philosophy is the belief system behind why you homeschool. And I will share with you some of those in a moment. And then your approach depends on your own background, your values, your access to resources, learning abilities of your children. So whether you might have, exceptional kids. I know Beth has twice exceptional kids that have some um, social anxieties and some social issues, but then they're also super smart. And so she's trying to stay ahead of their intelligence as well as help them to develop the social skills that they need to manage life. Is that a fair assessment, Beth? So that plays a huge
Yes.
role in the approach she takes to homeschooling. And then your reasons specifically for homeschooling. Some people this year are definitely have definitely pulled their kids out as a means to an end, a stopgap measure until they can put them back in public school. So the reason that they're gonna what they're gonna be doing in that time period is gonna look a lot like what they would do in public school in general. So they're trying to keep them up, right? But if your long-term goal is we're in this to win this. This is our life. Then you build your life and your culture and everything you do around that. And it looks. I always tell homeschoolers that the biggest thing that the best thing you can do for yourself is give yourself permission to see education differently. And that's like, I think the most important thing. If you can't give yourself permission to do it differently, then you're going to have all kinds of anxiety all the time. So this is a really busy slide, but and I'm not going to be able to cover all of it, but I'm going to give you some things to think about. So I, my philosophy is leadership education. It's based on a book called The Thomas Jefferson Education. If you have the opportunity to read it, I highly suggest you do. It is applicable to any approach that you take to public or to homeschooling, but for me, it has solidly defined how I look at education. Um, so leadership education says that children are educated in phases, and the core phase is from 0 to 6, and in that phase is about the most important thing you're doing is teaching them to love and to work and to play. So from 0 to 6, your most important thing is to learn to love, to work, and to play. Can I say that again? Love, work, play. Nothing in there says academics, sitting at a desk on a computer, doing your lessons, turning your stuff in, learning how to read, doing your ABCs. This, and if you think about it, my 10-year-old is we're a blended family, so she's my stepdaughter, and before she came to me, she did not learn to work. And her mother did not believe that she needed to learn to work. That was not her job. So she did not learn to work. So now a lot of what we do in the phase that she's in is going back to that core phase and learning how to sweep correctly, how to keep your room clean, how you don't put every piece of clothing that you've ever worn in the dirty clothes, even if it's still clean. Please stop doing that. I know you all do that for forever and ever, but if you can do it effectively in that core phase, boy, you got a leg up on life, right? Um, and then from ideally from 8 to 12, we call it the love of learning phase, and the goal is to help them to love learning. So we've all seen that public education is failing miserably right now in that respect because the kids are hating it, right? That's all it's been is how many tantrums, how many meltdowns you can have every day from being on the computer all day long and having all of these expectations and out of control stuff. So if you can get them to love learning between that time period, your money. And the way you do that is by allowing them to be self-guided, having a home that has lots of options for learning, where you schedule time differently, you do lots of reading, you do lots of field trips, you do lots of exploring, you figure out what it is they love and you feed those loves, and you structure leadership education says structured time, not content. So you would have reading time, or you might have, if you take, like, I teach Isabel's kids piano, so I'm a piano teacher on this side. And so I'm always encouraging to have music time. They feel it, the kids feel it, but they have that time every day where they would do music. So this is, you need to have a philosophy. And then there are several approaches that are either just regular approaches or um, philosophies. They could be both. And some are secular and then some are religious. So you might have found already for yourself that a lot of homeschoolers are deeply religious people. And a lot of curriculum is religious based. So, and a lot of approaches are religious based. So I'll just start over here on the religious side. Um, Classical education can be a little bit of both, but it tends to be very rigorous, and it's based on a Greek model, which is called the trivium. So logic, grammar, and rhetoric. There's a woman, her name is Susan Wise Bauer, and she wrote the book on classical education. Um, I think that's how you spell the wise part. Anyway, um, and then biblical or religious education, and a big buzzword. A lot of groups are classical conversations groups, and so they will be um, religious based groups. A lot of co-ops that you might find um, around. You need to check if that's an issue for you, because a lot of them will be religious based. They often have you sign like a statement of faith to join them, um, and they are pretty structured. Another could be both secular or religious approach to homeschooling is the school at home approach, or what we call the traditional approach. So I just want to point out that this one has the highest burnout rate of homeschooling of any of them. If you're trying to set up a desk and pencil sharpener, and they're sitting at that desk all day and they're doing their worksheets and cranking it out, then you're out of luck. Okay, so just know that I don't recommend it. And then Charlotte Mason, she kind of talked about, you would need to. I put on the Facebook page that I made. I put a breakdown of Charlotte Mason as a philosophy and an approach on there. But Charlotte Mason was alive in the Victorian era, and Victorians saw children as to be seen but not heard, and she saw children as vessels that needed to be filled with all the good things. What does she say? Hold on, I'm gonna tell you. Real quick, if I can find it. Might have erased it. Sorry, I'm losing the. Never mind. No, she said that they are like little gifts from God, and you're just trying to like ignite that spark in them, and connect them with the divine through the study of nature and good literature. And so there's not it's a really bare bones approach when you do Charlotte Mason, but it also lends itself nicely to an overarching philosophy. And then a lot of secular approaches, like just an eclectic homeschooler that has no problems just picking and choosing as they go. Isabel talked about being an unschooler, which is very child-centered, very like anti the school at home approach, the traditional approach, and very like led. Unschooling gets a bad rap because people say like unschooling parents just let their kids do whatever they want, and if that's what you're doing, then you're not really unschooling. So again, there's stuff to read about it. There's a guy named John Taylor Gatto, Gatto, and he wrote I can't think of the name of his book. You guys remember the name of the big one? Yeah. Can you think of what it is?
Weapons of mass instruction. Is that what you're thinking of?
Is that the one? Well, he wrote lots of things. I'll look it up in a second. That's but he has a lot to say about unschooling, and he's a big name in homeschooling. The another approach, which is would lend itself to like being an eclectic homeschooler, is project-based learning or unit study learning. This is one actually I super love a lot. And this one allows you to say, okay, so we're going to do first half of the year where everything's going to be about dinosaurs. And then everything you do is dinosaur based, right? So your math and your cooking and your science and your reading. And then, so when it comes to curriculum that way, you get to have, it makes it a lot easier because you are just looking for resources, right? Teachers pay teachers, the library, anything that you already have on your bookshelf, toys that you got, whatever, all revolve around that unit that you're going to study. And I gave you a resource here. This is called the Lollipop Book. It stands for Love of Learning Integrated with Projects, Opportunities for Service and Play. So the website is down here in the notes, lollipoplearning.com. It's a book that a lady wrote who is a long-time homeschooler, and she actually wrote another one, a companion book to go with it. And she has lots of great opportunities for ideas for unit study in there. Technology-based education, so that you were doing WAVA, that would be one of those. Multiple intelligences can be applied to unit study, where you address the different ways that we learn. So lots of movement, lots of music, lots of sensory application. And then the last two are pretty well known philosophies, which are also approaches. One of them is Waldorf, and Waldorf was about educating the whole child. And then Montessori education, which is about movement and manipulation. So that's all very short and to the point. I didn't tell you a lot about those. This website down here, wanderschool.com, has a bit of a breakdown of each of these philosophies. They also talk about things like road schooling. So if you have an RV that you can jump into and start touring the country, it's a solid thing. Lots of people do it. It's a dream. You could live the dream, right? One day. And nature schooling, we kind of talked about that a little bit as well. These are all things that you can consider as to who you are as a homeschooler. Any questions or comments? All right. So, Thomas Jefferson Education.
Sorry, Jenny, can I just say one thing?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I keep talking. I think, like what you've been saying, it is important to find what your philosophy is and to find a method that works for your family. But I also think it's really important to know that, like, you don't have to be stuck in one thing. Like, if you start out and your kids are younger and you want to do Waldorf or something, and that works really great for you for a few years, and then you read some other books or you find something else, sorry, that works better for you, you could switch, right? We don't have to be like set in the one thing that you do. The wonderful thing about homeschooling is that you can change and you can change for each individual child. I have kids who are complete opposites as far as learning and everything goes. And so it's like, if one kid really works for this, hands-on, play-based, outdoor type thing, that's where they thrive, that's great. And if another child really likes having some workbooks and some worksheets and having structure and doing some more online things, that's great too. And so you don't have to know it all on day one, and you don't have to be stuck in it either. So
Right.
that's all I wanted to add.
And I think that, that being that eclectic homeschooler who can pick and choose, I think is a great way to be. Some people are very like, we are Charlotte Mason, 110%. We do Charlotte Mason. And for them, that's probably just an easier way to think about it. Um, but I would encourage you, just like what Isabel's saying. I think the most important thing that for you to have in your toolbox is the conviction that you should be homeschooling. And if you're and working really hard to have that be on the same page as your partner, because if you don't have that partnership that sees things the same way, that makes it so much harder. So those would be the two things I think that every homeschooling family should say, that they know that they're supposed to be homeschooling and that they are on the same page with their partner. Um, so I wanted to just show you a couple of resources. So I mentioned that there's a book to read with the Thomas Jefferson Education. I put the website down here, tjed.org. Um, it is a great way to get your head on straight. But a super awesome resource when it comes to homeschooling is this on Facebook. It's the TJ Ed discussion group. So let's see, it looks like this. So right now, you have to, you can ask to join the group. There's 13.4 thousand members around the country and around the world, and this is probably the most generous um, resource I've found, as far as like if you have a question about homeschooling that you would like to get answered, and you put it on this page. The people here are just always willing to share and help. So this is her name is Rachel DeMille, and her husband wrote the book, and she runs the page. So she gets to put all of her information up here as far as their business is concerned. So there's lots of resources that she offers. Um, but um, people ask all the time for book recommendations. People will put on here things about, like this lady asked for suggestions for how she should spend some money, Christmas money that she received, what's something she should buy for her family. People will ask, like this person asked what they could do with socks. We've had it with socks. Anybody has suggestions for helping with socks? Um, and then a lot of times people will put on here, like social and emotional issues that they're having at home. Does anybody have suggestions? So it's a super, super great resource if you wanted to join. You don't have to be a leadership education person to do so. And that's a suggestion I would give to you. So I'm just going to put this up here. In leadership education, there's 7 keys. And I'm not going to go over these at all, but I will tell them to you, and then I'm going to let Isabel and then Beth and then my friend Betty's here also each tell you about the groups that they run and give you some information if you wanted to contact them, how you could become part of their group. So leadership education says the following things. Classics, not textbooks. So if you know somebody who's doing TJ Ed, you will find that they spend a lot of their time encouraging their children and as a family reading classic books, and classics in fiction, as well as like math classics or science classics, and figuring out the meaning of that word classics, but never, very rarely handing their child a textbook to work with. Another thing that's super important in leadership education is mentors, not professors. So if you can't teach it to your children, then you find someone who can. And that developing that mentoring relationship you as their main mentor in your home, and then helping them to find mentors, life mentors for the things that they want to learn. The next one is inspire. This one causes lots of trouble for people. So if that word not gives you a little pain, then you can say, you replace it with to. But that you as their educator, your job is to create inspiration for them. So if you want them to do it, you do it first. If you want them to read, you make sure that you're reading. If you want them to study, then you're modeling that for them. You're, like what you're doing right now today, coming and learning more about homeschooling, making sure that they know that and that they see that and that they are aware of the work that you do to be educated. I already told you about structuring time, not content. Um, this quality, not conformity, simplicity, not complexity. And then this last one is you, not them. So putting your own um, education, your own pursuits first so that you can then better lead them. So that kind of goes to the same thing I said about inspire, not require. So this is the main book, and then there's some others. This book called The Phases of Learning was written by Oliver and Rachel DeMille together, and it goes throughout like the year and throughout the different phases and shows you how it could look in your home. And then they also wrote this one called A Home Companion. You can find all these on their website. And then TJ for Teens. This has a really awesome book list in it. And then this other last book is the Lollipop book I was telling you about. And then these are classic books that you could read at home that teach mentoring. Um, I don't know if you've even heard of some of these. Little Britches is the top one if you want a great read aloud as a family. Um, and then Laddie, Carry On Mr. Bowditch, Swiss Family Robinson, The Hiding Place, The Chosen, all would be really great books to start with as a family, just to immerse yourself in the culture of learning from other people, of reading great classic books together. These are just really good recommendations. So I will start with Betty because she's the farthest out. Betty, if you can tell us where you're located, tell us a little bit about your school, and then how we might contact you, what you guys got going on.
Okay, our school when we are in school is in Port Orchard, and let's see, how can you contact us? You can get a hold of me at Momalot10, MOMALOT10 at gmail.com. We broke off from the Tacoma School, and we have we have a cap at 25 because
Tell
we
us
like
the
this.
name of your group.
Oh, sorry, it's Liberty.
Oops.
And we like the cozy feel, and so but we're very small now because of COVID, and so right now we aren't doing too much. We've got tutoring, writing, and Land of the Free, but we have big plans to
So you
gather.
guys are you're online right now?
Well,
No,
we
you guys
actually
are secretly
meet
in person.
we meet in small groups. Yep. And
so you are not taking any new people right now at all this year.
Right. But what we do have, we started the Kids app, TJ at Homeschoolers group online, and we will be having a colloquium on because there's new people. We're going to have a colloquium on Little
What's
Britches.
a colloquium?
A colloquium. It's a book discussion, but not quite. I mean, it's deeper. You go into principles, you go into other things. But it's on Little Britches, which she mentioned Little Britches, and she talked about Jenny mentioned about the classics. And classics, you think of Jane Eyre and, those kind of things as classics. But a classic is something that changes you. And Little Britches is definitely a classic in our home, and we have reread it few times, and I think that when they're ready, that it changes the kids. I think it does. It's amazing. And there's a whole series of them. Mary Jane and Company, I think, totally changed my granddaughter. And next it'll be my grandson's turn, because it just teaches some values and some principles that are so great. But that's the kind of things you talk about in a colloquium. So we're doing that on January 14th. If anybody's interested in joining us, let me know. It'll be on Zoom and at 7:00. So
you come having read the book, ideally.
What's that?
You come having read the book,
Yes.
ideally.
Yes. And so it's Little Britches, and and you can get it in any source you can get it, but that may be one that would be on your bookshelf that you would love to have on your bookshelf forever. So people do use audiobooks when they do colloquiums, read the books and things, which is fine. I like to have my paper copy so I can underline and reference. So it's up to them. But if you're listening to it, then just take notes about the things that you feel are important. So we totally have plans to gather again. We have people waiting to get in, and people who are waiting to come back until this is over. People that had family members that are fragile and felt like they couldn't come. So there will be room in the fall, maybe even in the spring, if we can get back together. We always have summer things going on. I'm going to start after the first of the year, an American Girl class. And then I think we're going to be starting a book club for boys. So those are things that anybody could join. And those are out right now. So
they'll also be in person, right?
I don't know about the book club, depending on what people feel. And if there's people from far away, we could do both. So, but the American Girl, we're planning on having it in person. It's small. It's really small right now. And that's what we've been doing, is keeping it really small. So, and then in the fall, we're totally ready to gear up for the fall, and classes being planned and things. So,
and the classes they have, all of us, me, Isabel, and Betty, our groups have a nursery. Then we have a core group. Then we have 8 classes for 8 to 11-year-olds, and then we have. I forgot to say that the last phase of learning is scholar phase. So 12 and up is when we start being rigorous academically. So we'll have classes for all those ages.
Yeah, and so right now we've only had scholars doing the small group activities classes, and we will again have all of it ready. So we're ready to go. Anybody who'd like to join in any of our activities that we're having, let me know.
Awesome. If you guys know anybody out in you're in Port Orchard, right?
Right.
So awesome. Thank you, Betty. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Isabel, would you like to go next?
Sure. Betty, I'll be contacting you about the boys club and the girls one, the American Girl one, because those sound great. I miss seeing your face. You're in the car like me, on the go. Always on the go.
And I would love to hear from you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so our group this year is meeting in my home. We have 30 families at our school, and we're only meeting for the 11-year-olds and up at my home, just because I can't accommodate our full group. But on a typical year, like Genevieve said, we have a nursery for babies all the way through high school. And that's the same with Beth's group and Betty's group and mine, is that the idea that a lot of homeschoolers will feel comfortable homeschooling their kids as they're younger, and then when they reach that high school age, then they feel super intimidated by the high school subjects that you would find in public school, and so then they send their kids back. to public school and high school. And our groups all go off the assumption that we can still homeschool our kids in high school. And so all of our groups are pretty unique, actually, I think, in the homeschool world, in that we have high school classes. You can be in any of our groups and your child can graduate out of them and be ready to go on to college. So that's pretty unique and something that I'm pretty proud of about our groups. So
what's the requirements for joining?
Okay, so our group is also full right now, and especially just because of COVID, we do have a waiting list. But as far as requirements, I don't know. You have to have, you have to have read the Thomas Jefferson education book. So the book that Genevieve has been talking about with that philosophy. We're similar to these two other groups in that that's the philosophy that we follow in the school, so that we kind of have a shared common language, and so that we understand kind of what the classes are going to look like. It doesn't mean that you have to follow that philosophy at home, but it's just an easy way for us to all be as one in our group. So you have to have read the Thomas Jefferson education. And then our group is a Christian-based group, meaning we are free to talk about what we believe if it comes up in class. But we've had atheists and other secular families who've been part of our group. And as long as they're okay with maybe occasionally someone mentions something out of the Bible, if it comes up in discussion in class, then that's fine. But there's not like religious teaching. You don't have to sign a form saying that you're biblical based or anything like that. So I don't know what.
There's a per semester cost, right?
There is, yes. So our group is volunteer based, so none of us make any money. We all take turns teaching different classes, but there is a cost for in a typical year renting the building, insurance costs, and then of course, if you're teaching a science class and you have these set experiments that you want to do with the kids, it's going to cost money just to have the supplies. So the students who take those classes will have a fee to pay for that. But we try to keep it pretty affordable because we recognize that most homeschool families are one income families. And so, we don't want to leave anybody out. And so I think all of our groups are pretty affordable. My family, which is a family, like I said, I have 6 kids. I think the most I've ever paid for a semester, so for a 3-month period, is like 200 and something, like maybe $250, $300. So, I think a lot of times when we hear about these private groups, we think that it's going to be like thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars a month. And it's not like that. It's like, $250, $300 for the semester. And that would be September, October, November, December, and then a second semester in January. And again, you pay that price. So I don't know. I can't guarantee that price for their other groups. I don't know what their prices are, but I know that we all are conscious of making it affordable for people.
And we try to be super gentle with new people, like when it comes to teaching and stuff. Our goal is to help everyone grow together, right?
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think there's one thing that I tell people who are new at homeschooling: find a group, because when you find a group, you can see. So when I started homeschooling, my kids were little. My oldest was 4 years old, so she wasn't even in public school age yet. And we went kind of as a play group. I wanted my kids to just be around other people. I was not committed to homeschooling. I figured this would be something for my kids to do for fun, be around other kids, and then eventually I would send them to public school when they were old enough. But by being around older homeschool kids, I started to see the difference I started to see the good qualities of homeschoolers. I started to teach a class for teenagers, and I saw these teenagers, and they were awesome kids. They could talk to you and be friendly and not be all awkward and shy. They had their own personal interests. They were their own person because they didn't have to try to fit into some mold, and they didn't have to try to be cool to fit into the fun crowd. And I was like, these kids are awesome. and I'll say with my church, I was working with a group of teenagers at my church also. So I was kind of seeing on a weekly basis, like some public school kids versus some homeschool kids. And I was completely inspired by these homeschool teenagers. And I started realizing that that is what I wanted for my kids, that I didn't want them to have to try to fit into a mold. I didn't want them to have to be interested in only what everyone else was interested in at school. I wanted them to be their own people. And so by being around these older homeschool kids and moms, I feel like every single week that I went to school, I would be like, what did you do for math? What did you do for this? What, asking these more experienced moms, and they mentored me and they tutored me and they taught me that, hey, it's okay. What you're doing is okay. And you don't have to freak out and you don't have to worry about this. And we did this. And I got all that experience because I was part of this community. Okay. I couldn't have got that on my own. I wouldn't have learned and grown at the same rate or in the same way, but because I was with these people every single week and they started to become my tribe. And so, so with that group of people, you know, my group then broke off and we went to Puyallup, and we're creating the same type of atmosphere. We want all of the moms to know each other. We want the moms with the younger homeschool kids to be able to pick the older homeschool moms' brains. We want them to get advice and see what works and find out if what's going on at home is normal, or, you know, what's going on with my 7-year-old boy. Is this normal? You have, you used to have a 7-year-old boy. Is this normal? And those sort of things, besides creating really great friendships, also instills that confidence, because I always like to tell people that homeschooling is just an extension of parenting. Okay. We all have bad days parenting. We're all like screaming at our kids, and then we're like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst, crappiest mom ever. Like, this is horrible and whatever. But then other days we do really good and we make a really good connection with the kids and we bake cookies and it's great or whatever. Okay. Homeschooling is like that too. Sometimes we're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I need to send him back to public school because I can't do this. This is too hard. And then other days we're like, okay, this is really good. Some cool things are happening. And so for me, by being around those other homeschool families, realizing what was normal, realizing that I wasn't going to mess up my kids, it really helped me when I was having those down days, right? And so it helped me to gain the confidence. And honestly, having the opportunity to teach classes and to go to different trainings and stuff like that, I've gained a lot of confidence in myself as a person, because I can do these things as homeschooling. So sorry, that's kind of going off on a tangent, but yeah, Amber, did you have a question?
I was just, so when you're done talking, I'll go next.
Oh, yeah. But so I just really think people need to find a community. I would love to take you all into my school this year if we could. If stupid COVID wasn't a thing and everybody could just meet at my house, I would have everybody come and join me. But if you want to get on our wait list, email me. I know Genevieve just put my email in the notes. You can also find me on the Facebook page, and message me that way too, if that's easier for you. But we love to have people come and join us. I know the other ladies groups do too. And we want to share the good word of homeschooling. We want to help mentor those new people, because we were the new people once before too. We want to share our experience, and having these tribal based communities, which is what our schools are, is just, it's absolutely invaluable. So send me an email, send me a Facebook private message if you want more information about getting on our wait list. And hopefully in the fall we can meet again. We usually meet at a church that we rent out. Hopefully we can meet again in the fall and have our normal classes and have all ages, and it's a great time.
Yeah, and it'd be worth it to get on the wait list.
Yeah. Anything else? Does anyone have specific questions or anything? I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place.
I do. When you guys say, like, so a school essentially, like, and you guys have your groups, how does that differ between like just a play group or a co-op? Is there like, you guys meet every single Wednesday? You guys meet every day? Do you choose which semester you join in on? How is that?
So for our group, we meet once a week. We meet on Tuesdays. And the reason we call it a school is because people are familiar with co-ops, right? You go to a co-op, the different moms, maybe if Beth was in the co-op, has a math as her profession, so she's going to teach math. I love history, I'm going to teach a history class, right? All the moms jump in and teach the classes whatever they're interested in, and then the kids can choose which classes they're interested in to take that's available to them. But the thing we're similar, all of our groups are similar to that. That's kind of the outline, that's how we're organized. But the thing that makes us, sorry, what?
Oh, I said we're cooperative in nature, yes.
Yes, so we're all working on it together. I call it that we run on mom power, because again, we're not paid. We have to have the moms teaching, or else we wouldn't have classes available. The thing that makes us different than a co-op, though, is that we're part of a nationwide organization called New Commonwealth School. And it's basically like individual franchises. All the different McDonald's are owned by different people, but they're all part of the McDonald's organization. That's kind of what we're like. So we're all New Commonwealth schools. We're run independently, but we're set up with a president and a board, an executive board, and we have a written constitution and policies and procedures, so that eventually when I'm the founder of our group in Puyallup, and I'm the president, but in a few years, I'm not going to be the president anymore. Someone else is going to come and be the president. And you don't usually see that with co-ops. You usually see co-ops dwindle out after the founder is burnt out. So the reason why we're calling it a school is because we actually are a New Commonwealth School. We're set up more as a long-term organization than rather what a co-op is, but we are basically a co-op. Like what you know of as a co-op is basically what it looks like. We're just a little bit more, have some more order and organization behind our group, if that makes sense. Did that answer it? Okay, good. Anyways, I don't know anything else that we need to know about our group. I'm super passionate about homeschooling. I could talk about it all day long. Genevieve and I actually have some things in the work that we're working on to learn more, to help people learn more about homeschooling and to get our homeschool stories told, because everyone has a homeschool story. Somehow you got thrown into this world or whatever. But yeah, I'm passionate about it, love it. I think it's the best thing that could happen to my family. While my kids drive me crazy and I want to pull my hair out a lot of days, and I threaten them sometimes that I'm going to send them to public school because they don't know, they've never been to public school, but I threaten them sometimes. I absolutely love homeschooling. I would not trade any of it, any of the time that we've had together as a family, any of the time that I've had to teach my kids, and for us to grow really close together, and for me to just be a part of their education it's invaluable. Yeah. Is it Amy?
It's actually Jasmine. It's a
Jasmine. Okay.
of two last names.
Oh, okay.
Which good. I put in earbuds. I wasn't sure if you could hear me at first. But so my question is do you know of any groups? So we're still in WAVA, and my mom was like, you can't just keep pulling Kelton halfway out through school every single year. So, well, because I did it last year.
Yes, you can.
I know.
You can. There's no rules. You can do that.
That's true. Do you know of any group that could actually be open right now to support me? Because when he goes back, we're having to do some the halfway year testing. The first time we did the testing, I mean, he did every question, he answered every question. It took us 2 hours to do a test because they're asking 43 questions and one subject, and that took us 2 hours. And then 2 hours again to do the other 43 questions. So we're doing that again when we go back. But I mean, first of all, I think it's kind of ridiculous to ask that of a 6-year-old. But do you know of any group that could support, that's open as of right now, that could support us if we switched?
Beth, you want to talk a little bit about Thea for a second?
Absolutely. So since I missed the beginning, I don't know, Jasmine, I didn't hear all your details. I was having a lot of technical difficulties this morning.
In WAVA right now, but you're considering what you're going to do with that, right?
Yes, I am. We're currently in WAVA, which I thought would give us a little more freedom, but it's extremely rigid, and he hates it.
And
to
you
just
have a 6-year-old? Is that?
I have a 4-year-old, and she actually likes school.
Okay.
But he
Okay. So, you, I mean, you might not like my my answer to this question, but I would say take your kid out and just do your own thing, because that's
That's what I'm leaning towards, but everyone's like, oh
like
no.
there's no. So I mean, Washington is awesome because you are not required to do anything until the age of 8, and so I mean, you have the freedom to do whatever you want. You can take your kid out at any time, and you do not have to answer to the state or the city or anybody, the school district. You are free. Your child is not old enough to meet any requirements at all. So go for it if that's what you feel like. So our organization FILA, which is, our group was the beginning. Genevieve started it, I don't even know how many years ago, a lot of years ago. And then Isabel and Betty's groups have bloomed off of ours and taken away their own groups. And I miss those two, Isabel and Betty. Hello, I love you. So we are meeting all online virtually now, and we do have classes every week virtually. We have for our like 8 to 11-year-olds, we have 2 hours every Thursday morning. We have 2 different classes for them, and actually I think we might be adding like a hangout class in the afternoon and something else. This semester we've only done 2 hours in the morning, but I think when we start the second semester, so we still have a couple of weeks in the first semester in January, and then we start the second semester for our group, I think the last Thursday in January. So we always meet on Thursdays. And then we have some scholar classes too for our older kids. For the younger kids, right now, all we have is I do story time every Thursday at 12:30. And I will, hold on a sec, let me see if I can. Working from my phone is not as on Zoom is not as natural to me. Let's see here. I will put the link for the story time. Hold on.
Because that's one of the things is that we've read through Laura Ingalls like 4 times. We've read through the whole series, the Boxcar Kids, and we love reading. And he is like, that is one of his calmest times. We're so busy with school. We have barely time for bedtime stories. It's like really frustrating.
Yeah, so it's not this week because we're still on a holiday, but next week, that first week of January, I'll start again. So Thursdays at 12:30, the link is in there, and Jenny just put my email in there. So feel free to talk to me. So we do, since your kids are little, so basically my story time is I read like 2 or 3 picture books, and we kind of have like show and tell, like, so if I have a theme for my books that week, I'll send out an email to everybody and I'll say, hey, we're reading about going on a trip, so have your kids draw a picture or tell me about their favorite trip. So we'll read a book, and then I'll let all the kids tell me whatever, and little kids love to talk about random things. So we spend a few minutes talking. I give all the kids a chance to talk if they want. And some days it's so I have 4 kids. So some days it's me and my kids and like one of their families, 2 or 3 kids in their family. Other days, I have like 5 families on there listening to the stories. So that's our little kid thing right now. So normally when we meet in person, we have so our, as Isabel and Betty and Jenny have all kind of mentioned, we have, everything from nursery up to, scholars, teenagers. So we, in our group, we divide ours into a couple groups. So we have like 0 to 2, like the little ones, they kind of just have, just hang out in the nursery. We have a few grown-ups with them, and they have snack time and play and whatever. And then like the 3 and 4-year-olds have kind
Weird
of
happened to your sound, Beth.
Oh, sorry. Oops. Can you hear me now?
Same thing. So we can hear you, but it's real tinny.
Okay, sorry.
It's
I don't
fine.
know.
We can hear it. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Hold on. Okay, go color in the other room for a minute. Okay. And then so 3 and 4-year-olds, we might do like a little bit more, like a little arts and crafts, maybe a little singing time, a little bit more organized thing. And then for our like 5 to 7-year-olds, we do a couple of classes in the morning. So like a real kind of, we may do like a little science class where we do some little basic science experiments or something, or we do a little art class. And then in the afternoon we have just free play time for those guys. We have where we take them outside every week, and we do some
you know, we have like some inside activities with crafts, and we have like Legos and trains and stuff, and they can like take out, you know, we have dress up, we have, you know, different things. So those kids would take it, you know, we would take out like 3 different stations of toys, and they would play with them, and then we'd take them outside for a while, and we'd have snack. And anyway, so our younger kids, we do have like a program for them. It's really loose, you know, and fun, and you know, but we don't have like a structured curriculum, but we do have like a routine, and we have you know, and our classes split halfway through the semester for those younger kids, so they only do like a 7-week class, and then they switch to something else for the other half of the semester. But so obviously we're not doing that right now because you can't really do that on Zoom, but eventually, you know, again, crossing our fingers for the fall, we would get back to that. So we meet in Tacoma at Bethlehem Lutheran Church. We are again, we are Christian based, but we don't have, you know, you don't have to sign a faith statement. We meet in a Lutheran church, though I don't think any of us actually are Lutheran. Anyway, so you know, we rent out that building. We have a good relationship there, and so we would, you know, we spread out and have small groups throughout the building. And anyway, questions?
So the best thing, Jasmine, is to, you know, if you say, I would love to join one of these groups, like making sure that you send an email and say, please keep me in the loop, basically, so that we know that you're, you know, are interested in that. And then, you know, like for example, next month I teach a theater class online to the kids in my group, and we're gonna do a radio show. So we're gonna record it and send it out as a YouTube link, and everybody's gonna come watch our radio show. So like, you know, we'd send that to you. Make sure, you know, you guys get to participate in anything that we have going on. We had an online Christmas party, and we'd love to have you be involved in those things. So and then when we can, I'm sure that park dates will start happening sooner than later, and other things, but just making sure that you're letting us know that you definitely want to be in the loop.
Yes, because I live by 72nd and Canyon, so I'd prefer to have something, whatever the closest thing is, instead of traveling extra far. But I would love some support.
One other thing that I didn't mention, so I know Isabel was kind of talking about how we run on Mom Power, and we such a great support for each other. We actually still have a monthly moms meeting, theoretically. So we haven't had a lot of our own moms participating lately, but if that's something you guys just want, so we have, I think it's, I can't remember which Thursday it is, but it's on a Thursday at like 3:15. And I can, if you want to know more, send me an email or a message, and I can remember which Thursday it is. But yeah, so where it's just in, you know, it's primarily to kind of, you know, let everybody know what might be happening in our organization, if anything's changed, if we have any announcements, but also you just said, hey, what's going on with you guys? And, you know, how's everything going? And, you know, so the last couple times we've just sat and chatted, you know, for 15-20 minutes, and just kind of checked in with other moms in our group. So that's a great way to get support. Sorry, I got my mini Hulk here trying to get in the way. And the other, a while ago, I'm sorry, Jenny, what?
Oh, I was saying she's in between Isabel's group and our group, so you can hedge your bets with both of us.
Oh yeah. And then just one other, Jenny was sharing that online on Facebook, the TJ Ed discussion group too. And I posted in the chat a while ago, there's another group on Facebook, the Secular Eclectic Academic Homeschoolers. And they're another really good group. They, so they are a little bit more liberal minded, I'm going to say. So the TJ Ed group is more conservative. The SEA group is a little bit more liberal, but they have all of their resources they share. They make sure that there are not any religious connotation, like sometimes you buy a math curriculum but don't know it very well, and it's it's a religious based, they have religion mentioned in there, and some people don't want religion mentioned in their math book, or whatever it is. So they have a really nice setup that they make sure, and they have a separate chat group too, which is really an awesome, great communication group for homeschoolers. So anyway, just thought I would mention that group too. It's really, I've gotten a lot out of it this year.
Awesome. All right, thank you so much.
Hey, Jenny.
Yep.
I just wanted to say, you talked about knowing that you're supposed to do homeschool, and then Isabel talked about it too, and Isabel said that sometimes she feels like I'm going to send him to public school, and I will say that once the commitment is made, and I made that commitment, anyway, for a reason, a maybe silly reason, long time ago, but only one time have I ever thought I'm sending these kids to school, because once the commitment's there, you're committed. So, I mean, the whole feeling of it, but another thing is, Jenny, did you mention, like scholar retreat and the trips and things?
I did not. These guys, once your kids are 12 and they enter into our scholar program, we try, like we said, we're all member driven. So everything we do is what we come up with on our own and what we have the energy to do and stuff. But every year, except for this year, unfortunately, we have what we call a scholar retreat. So when our kids turn 12 in the summer, they get a 3-day retreat, and we join together. All of the schools do it together, and we kind of welcome them into their scholar phase. And we have a special a motivational speaker that comes, and we have getting, like the games, get to know you games, and they do a service project, and they have a theme for the year, and they get t-shirts, and so the kids really love that.
It's no small deal, because we've had kids that have said, this is the best 3 days of my life, or this has changed my life. So it is really a pretty fabulous deal, that scholar retreat.
Betty plans our scholar retreats and has done several of them and does an excellent job of it. And then we have done things like twice now. Our classes are for our scholar kids. Their beginner classes are American history based classes. So we teach the Revolution and about the Constitution, and so then and then we do the Civil War. And so twice now we've taken them back east on history trips, and that's Isabel and I have gone on those, and that has been no small feat, but they have been amazing. We have the kids take a Shakespeare class, so we study Shakespeare, a Shakespeare play the first semester, and then the second semester they put on a full-length Shakespeare play, and that's all hands on deck enterprise. We've done about, I don't know, 5 plays or so, 5 or 6 plays, and that is super powerful for the kids. So we definitely we've added a science component to our scholar program. So we have labs and done some really great things with science, and basically I operate under the philosophy that if you if you can think it, you can do it. If you build it, they will come. So we definitely are open to individual parent initiative, and we had a mom that wanted to do a community garden, and she got a greenhouse donated, and we got a huge grant, and it was going great until storm ruined everything. But that's an example of, like, if it really is a great atmosphere to do those things that inspire, not require, the you, not them, and to make great things happen for yourself and for your kids. So there's lots of room. We have a mom's class as well, so the moms get to participate in that, and there's room for the adults to be working on their own scholar phase, and you know, feeling like you're, you know, getting to fill in those blanks of the things that you didn't feel like you had when you were in school, or what, you know, what your academic pursuits are as well. So um, I wanted to definitely let you know about our groups, not necessarily be a commercial for our groups, because there's other options as well. So I'll just show you a couple things here. Um, we kind of explained what new Commonwealth schools are, and then the cooperatives that I'm familiar with, and I have the websites down here for them. One is called Patch, and they actually meet in the same church as we do, and they are a true cooperative, and they just are elective based, so they have all kinds of fun classes that are electives, and the kids come and have fun there. The Emmanuel Homeschool Group, I'm pretty sure they're one that would have a statement of faith. I know the lady that runs it or helps run it, and she's super cool. But they're out in Puyallup, and they're not meeting at all until next year. But they have all kinds of classes, and your kids have to be 7 to start with them, and you have to volunteer to teach. And then things that you could do yourself, meetups and play dates. Definitely take advantage of like the homeschool 253 parents homeschool page and other things, and just put it out there. You know, small groups of people going to the park together is totally fine, and so don't be scared of initiative. And then another thing that you can do is something called a mom's school. So and Isabel kind of is doing that in her home right now. And this is a book. Let me show you real quickly that this lady wrote this book, and this is actually this is my website. I run a curriculum website, so it's called curriculumsquare.com. And if you have a chance to peruse it, there's some fun curriculum on here, but it's all meant for groups. So you would need to consider either joining a group, or doing something like starting a mom school, where you have a couple of friends that are homeschooling, a couple families that are homeschooling, and you guys get together and everybody plays a role, and you teach classes just in your home. And this book kind of lays it out for you how that could look, and how you might start that a mom school in your house. Years ago, I used to drive out to Port Orchard, and I didn't teach Betty's kids, but there's some other families out there, and I'd meet in one family's living room, and they'd all the kids would come, and we'd do history and plays and have a great time, and I'd teach them once a week. And so you can definitely do things on a smaller scale, all on your own. Just it takes, just takes initiative. So and I can talk to you more about that. These are just some off the top of my head curriculum resources. I put up their curriculum square. That's my deal. Actually, I'll put, just so for shameless plug on myself, I also teach online with my husband, and we have classes, academic classes for I teach an elementary writing class, and then we have we have math tutoring and a math class. Beth teaches our math classes and does our tutoring. We also have a Spanish teacher, and we have a really awesome art teacher who does art for all ages online, so you can check those out. And if you wanted to know anything more about that, you can let me know. Rainbow Resource is this really great site that just sells just about everything. And then I put up here, this is a curriculum exchange group on Facebook, where people post their curriculum that they're selling. You might not be using it anymore, and so keeping your ear to the ground about stuff that you want to try. This would be a good way to get it used and not have to pay as much. The Good and the Beautiful is a encompassing curriculum that everyone is really excited about right now, and she does it for all ages. A lot of it's free, and then others you pay for. Um, a literature program that I really like is called Five in a Row, and I just bought a whole box of books and the Five in a Row curriculum for I homeschool my niece and my nephew, and she's 2, and the Five in a Row book gives you ideas for how you can expand on just regular picture books. So, like one of her favorites right now is this book called Jessie Bear, What Will You Wear? So it says, it has rhyme in it. So you read through the Five in a Row, and there's like 20 suggestions. You can do science by looking at the the pictures of the sky and talking about what's going on in the sky. You can talk about family relationships and point out all the times that they say they love you or the hugs that they're giving each other. You talk about the rhyme. So it says, Jessie Bear, what will you wear? And she walks around and say, Jessie Bear, what you wear? Jessie Bear, what you wear? And and it blew my mind. I thought, this is so great. Just having it in, I read through it, had it in the back of my head, and then I read through the books, and every time we can pull out something different. So Five in a Row is a really good, and it has Five in a Row goes all the way up to age 12. They have different stuff. And then Easy Peasy is an online free homeschooling program online that a homeschooling mom wrote, and we used it last year when my 10-year-old was 9, and it has all kinds of really great self-directed stuff on there. So this is just like tip of the iceberg as far as curriculum goes, but you just want to start asking and getting suggestions, figure out, if you're going to do, like we talked about, unit studies, figure out those you can't address everything, but you can say we're going to do, my family, we do 10 to noon in the morning, and then we do 1 to 3 in the afternoon, and we make sure that we do reading and writing and math. And then my nephew's 12, so he has his scholar electives, his scholar classes, so he has to take care of his scholar classes, and then they each have a foreign language. So the 10-year-old does sign language, and my nephew does Esperanto. If it's not funny, my husband takes it very seriously, but it's so. Anyway, and then what else? Is there anything else we do? We do science. Yeah, we use our co-op. We use our AFILA to help with the science that we do. So I'm big on mentors and getting that outside help as well. But that's what it looks like. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you guys in a nutshell. I want you to know that you're not alone, that we're out here for you. Reach out and let us know that you want to be a part of things. I think in this really unique time, you have to be super proactive and make sure that you're letting the groups know, like, don't forget me, I want to be part of things. And we're here for you. So any thoughts or questions or comments or last things you want to say? It's been helpful. I'll definitely post these slides on the Facebook page as well.
I say thank you. It's been incredibly helpful, and it's nice to get a feel for the type of community that homeschool can be. Because that was one of the worries from my families, is that they're not going to be socialized, or you're going to be doing it on your own. But to see that there's people, even if you're not doing it the same way as the family next to you, everyone's still ready to help and ready to get together anyways. And so that's really motivating and exciting to see that hopefully when all this 2020 is over, it'll be really cool.
So Amber and Jasmine, and let's see, Jennifer, I don't know, we never got to meet you. I hope you're able to hear everything. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself. But if you guys want to put your own contact info in the chat box, I know Jasmine, you're saying that you are a little bit of an island, so maybe you and Amber can be pals, right? But I will. I would love to have your email, and I will definitely contact you guys as well and let you know things. And there's all kinds of people on that Facebook page that everybody's being shy because we don't know what we can and can't do. But just put it out there and ask what people are, comfortable with, who wants to get together, who's going to parks. I'm going to say 882-5498, right?
Yes, Amber was already proactive and was like, hey, play date. Which is awesome. I do have to be a little careful. My mom has MS, so she takes immune suppressing drugs, which has kind of made it a little bit more fearful for me to try and do anything, because it's like, I don't want to kill her. I love her. Like, yeah, so, but other than that, I am definitely up for going out and doing things. That's why we also, when we moved down here, the first year we just I've only been here for 2 years, and we're really good at entertaining ourselves, which is probably the homeschool side too, we're really good at entertaining ourselves and we're really good at being social, but I'm not also constantly having to feel like I have to have other people, but I love to have just a couple close friends to hang out with.
Yep, I understand completely. Well, let's see. Amber, did you want to put your email in there too? Or did you already do it somewhere?
I think I did.
You direct message it to me.
Oh, ooh, that, okay, my bad.
Yeah, that's what I did when I said, thank you, Betty, for your help, for offering to be willing to help. I was like, oh, wait, I said that to Amber.
All right. Thank you, Beth. Oh, let me see. I'm going to turn the recording off.